Hello and welcome back, everybody. We got one more game for our first series to close out. LiT and DSG are neck and neck. And a reminder, these are the two teams that are fighting to make it into playoffs and avoid that promotion relegation tournament. Technically, there's still a couple other teams that could really have like a rough end of their split and make it in there, but it's looking likely it's one of these two. And the winner of this next game, more than likely, will be dodging that promotion tournament.
Yeah, because we are going to a Game 3, it is not guaranteed from this position because there are still opportunities for whoever loses today to go 2-0 next week, and whoever wins today can go 0-2 next week, and so there are still opportunities for things to flip-flop. But with all likelihood, like we said, whoever wins this next game is probably going to be going towards playoffs. And what we've seen so far has been so much deterrent based on how these lanes have been going. When Manui and Pooh won their lane and Tenacity won his lane, that's how the game went. The second time around, it was the opposite way. Dragoon won, and then we got to see Rock Boom and Plux take it right on back. So, with the lane so big of a focus now, we will have to see who's actually able to get the better lane matchups.
And a lot of the lane matchups comes down to the champions picked, which brings us to our Subway Best of 3 sidekick, where we decide as casters going into the final game who we think both of the teams need to prioritize to get that final win, the big sidekick that will get them over the finish line. Joshi, I'm going to let you go first here. You've been ruminating. You've been thinking on it. Give us your Subway Best of 3 sidekick.
All right, my first sidekick here is I think we're going to go with a bit of a pretzel here for Manui. Because we've seen so many different games who have been playing things like the Seraphine or the Ziggs, we need to see something where he can win lane on. And one of the champions that comes to mind for me for Manui is his Kai'Sa. He's already talked about it in his questionnaires. It is his favorite champion to play. We just saw what Rock Boom can do with it. Manui, when given the opportunity to go for some of these duels, is able to take them. And frankly, I think it's his best chance to beat Rock Boom in all these situations where both supports are leaving the lane.
I do like that. I was going to go with also a bot lane pick, but not that exact one. I was going to say, if you're on the side of LiT and you just had Rock Boom smash against the Smolder, my Subway Best of 3 sidekick is Smolder. I mean, try and pick it up for yourselves now. You know that Manui's not going to have it, so there's a chance it's banned out. But one dragon worked for you last time. Go for a dragon this time around as well. So if we're going dragons, I don't know. That's got to be the cookie then, right? You got to bake it. Oh, you deep fry a churro. So what's a dragon more like? That's probably more deep frying than baking.
I can see that because it is, it is so much heat immediately, right? Whereas the baking is a bit more of a slow burn. I feel like the one other thing I really want to see is something that has been unfortunately banned away from LiT in most of their games, and I guess by definition that makes it the cookie coming through. It is going to be Kisno on the Kindred, a champion that I think has been banned against him almost every single game, but has been one of the champions where he can make a really big difference. Now, unfortunately, I think the last time we saw it was going up against Maryville, where they had a very dedicated plan on how to deal with it. But a lot of teams don't necessarily have that ready to go. And in a Game 3 situation where you want to turn up some variance and get as many players of yours activated at the same time, this could be a way to give Kisno an outsized impact on Game 3.
Well, it sounds like your best of 3 sidekick is Kai'Sa. My best of 3 sidekick for Subway is going to be that Smolder. Let's see what the teams think as we're ready for pick and ban for game number 3. Let's hop on in because the winner of this more than likely is dodging that promotion tournament. It's not guaranteed. Their next weekend will still have big implications on that. But you're putting yourself in a really solid position because both of these teams, their opponent next week is a team that they have a realistic chance of picking up a series win as well, if not at least one game. Which, a reminder, it goes series score, then game score, then head-to-head. So if you just have a better game win record than your opponent and you're tied for a series, even if you lost the head-to-head against them, you still can qualify above them going into that playoff.
Yeah.
So,
and to be more specific there,
tight.
Steve, it is game win percentage, not game record. So if you were to end a game with, if you go 10-10, it is better than going 10-11. So we will see exactly how that plays out if it comes into consideration at all, because we do have a lot of teams with 2, currently 3 series wins where you will really need every single bit. But as we come through, we see some very similar bans, and LiT yet again on the red side. They did improve to 2-9, I think was the stat that you gave out earlier.
True.
And how could we forget? It is going to be the VARs coming through for Manui, a very strong, very versatile pick coming through, and even though it lost 2 AD on the most recent 14.4 patch, winners have shown that this champion has not moved. It is still very good.
Yeah, and it makes it a little scarier to go for the Smolder for Rock Boom because Varus is such a lane bully, it's really hard to actually guarantee you can scale there. So maybe opt to fight fire with fire. If we lock in this Jhin, there it is. Okay, so we are trying to answer the aggression of theirs with the aggression of a Jhin.
Ooh, and we are immediately throwing everything right at it. Now, this could technically be going to Kissno, it could be played by Plugs, but it's the kind of thing where we are looking to disrupt a lot of the plays. Now, I gotta admit, Kangas, I do not like seeing Jhin picked this early in the draft because, well, not that champion, but because there are so many champions that you can pick and just like, hey, you just don't do damage to me. I'm going to be playing something like the Udyr or the Boppy or the Sejuani, who are already gone for the side of DSG, but there are still plenty of tanks that you could grab for Disguise that suddenly make this Jhin completely worthless. And DSG are playing right on into it, so good job, Rock Boom. You picked the right champion.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to echo your sentiment. As soon as Jin's locked in, if the enemy team just opts for, like you called them, the meatballs, this is looking like, if Volibear's chicken Alfredo, I don't know, this is mac and cheese or something. It's very squishy compared to the opportunity, the potential champions they could have locked in instead. So Jhin, he's happy to fire on any of these champs. Yeah. Especially with that fourth shot, it's going to get a lot of value. And then it's Azir, a little more DPS threat for messages.
Now, I'm a little bit surprised messages did choose to go to the Azir, having already seen the LeBlanc get picked up, because it is a bit of a tough matchup for the Azir to navigate. You don't have a lot of choice over when engagements are taken later on in the game. That is one of LeBlanc's specialties. And as we start going towards the second half of the draft, of course, we are going to have to see Tenacity pick another blind champion. So far, his answers have been Aatrox and the Renekton, but this time he doesn't really necessarily get an opportunity to ban away everything he doesn't want to see on the other side of the map, and instead they're just going to be banning away the Karma to make sure that they have the tools necessary to punch through some of the front line.
Interesting to see that they're banning away the Karma before anything else. It tells me that they don't believe it's the Rel bot lane, that they think it will be Rel jungle, so they need to take away something that can help the Jhin control the wave, push that in underneath the turret. But it means that they lose like the Darius ban or maybe the Mordekaiser ban, other top laners that Dragoon loves to pull out, and now LiT can just ban away the top laners that Tenacity can feel safer blind picking, things like that Olaf and the Gragas.
Yeah, I almost makes you think that at this point Disguise might be most likely to play Ornn up on the top side, which is another champion that Jhin cannot deal with. Nah, not K'Sante on 14.4. That champion doesn't really do anything. It doesn't work the same way it used to. The Nocturne ban coming through at the same time. I mean, Disguise is hedging their bets. This has to tell us where the Rel is going. You're not going to be blinding your top laner for sure, right? This is entirely the reason why LiT like being on the red side, but instead they're going to be blinding the Renekton going into Disguise.
Okay, I mean, you said no way, and LiT said bet. We lock in the Renekton blind for Dragoon. We're holding the Rel to the last possible second. I guess
this has to be really spicy. It has to be a spicy meatball coming up from LiT for me this to make any sense.
Well, let's see what it is. Okay, there's the Chicken Alfredo again, locked in here for the side of DSG. That will be the Volibear top lane, not jungle, where we often have seen it. I think we've actually, if I'm correct, we've only seen Volibear jungle in NACL. I might have missed a game or two. So far,
yeah, I believe.
But it will be top for Tenacity regardless into that Crocodile. So Battle of the Beasts up there. Let's see what that spicy meatball is here, Joshi.
I'm going to be really disappointed if it's just like Janna. You know, the kind of thing where you're not necessarily going to throw anything out, and it's Sejuani, why did we pick Renekton blind? What was the point of that? Anyway.
I mean, it's kind of, it's the two, like, horse riders in League, right? Or like a boar rider and a horse rider. That's kind of neat.
Yeah, you know, it's fine. Either way, though, it just feels like such a stock standard comp coming out from LiT, which is an interesting position to be in. It's just, yeah, you're not even any spices. This is why we went to India, right? You got to find all the cinnamon. But it is the kind of spot where now Dragoon doesn't have a great matchup up in the top lane. The Volibear can really just out-brawl the Renekton because your W is on a shorter cooldown than Renekton's Q. So you heal up more during a lot of these fights than the Renekton will. At the same time, you don't necessarily find yourself a fantastic matchup. You just have a generally all-around good composition. Whereas DSG, they have a lot of tools. They have a lot of different options in the way that they can choose to play this, depending on how Manui wants to build in particular.
And I'm going to go check. When I think of Tenacity champ pool, I feel like there was a time when he played a lot of Olaf. I'm not exactly sure. I'm not super confident. But I know that it's something that he has pulled out in the past. So I'm going to take a look at his all-time stats. What was that?
It was banned this game, to be fair. So not something that Tenacity could have played, but it is definitely a spot where it feels a little bit surprising. But as this game 3 comes through, we again have to reiterate the stakes. This is the game. Whoever wins this one is very likely going to be our 8th team making playoffs. And Tenacity, I mean, on this bear has a lot of pressure that he can put in just because he has more auto attack pressure than the Renekton. You get the stacking auto attack speed every single time, and it means that Tenacity is able to push Dragoon out of the lane at the beginning.
I do have the stats for Tenacity's Volibear now. He has played 10 total games on it in his career. So not the most, but still has pulled it out in the past. It is something that I remember when it was meta, he would pilot. So the Ghost is well going to help him chase down Dragoon there. How likely are we thinking that this is going to turn into a top-focused match then? Because, I mean, when I see Jhin Varus, I think action down there. But now with Volibear Renekton, I'm like, I mean, maybe we just see its top lane be the focus instead.
That's a very good question, right? Because you do have the Sejuani and the Renekton is a great combo right off the bat as we see some skirmishing across the board.
Newbie probably has a little more DPS level 1 than just Rockboom will, but as I say that, Rockboom can get that 4-shot off. Nope, goes for the minion instead. So Flux a little bit lower in health, even if overall trade on Manui and Poom is more. But what your point there, Josh, before the early skirmish spot?
I don't remember. Oh no, the Renekton plus the Sejuani coming through. Clearly, it still matters because you have the ability to get the double stun super effectively, right? Dragoon, whenever you have the Rage Bar, you get the 3 auto attacks is what it counts as, and a 1.5 second stun. And then you layer that on top with Kisno, you just need 1 more auto attack while they're stunned in order to layer an additional second of stun. That's 2.5 seconds with a lot of choice with who you actually want to be targeting when you go for these plays. However, Volibear is a bigger meatball, a bigger chicken than we actually have on the Renekton, which is really important when you're trying to make good Alfredo. You gotta have the proper amount of meat to sauce ratio.
You know what we need to do at some point now is we need to go into like tier list maker and rank every champion in the game based on their like protein value. I don't really know, calorie density, something like that.
I like that. That sounds like exactly up your alley. But Messi is taking a lot of damage already. The electrocute coming through, and now it's also going to mean that Messi just does not have a lot of control of this lane. Young on one of his iconic champions yet again taking control of this mid lane. We haven't really touched on that, but he has actually been having leads basically every single time in the 1v1 going up against Messages, and now forcing an early back and early teleport. He's not going to be able to buy hardly anything with only 9 CS.
That's disastrous. I think he might also lose this cannon. Teleport is channel. It's going to hit 2 shots onto the melee minion, 1 more shot onto the cannon. Yeah.
Okay, experience. You didn't get the gold, but you got the experience. So that's at least something. And at the same time, we're already seeing Young go for a roam towards the top side of the map. Not going to find anything, but making sure that Dragoon cannot push that in. And with more than double his opponent's CS, Young will at least be able to return to lane with an Amp Tome compared to the refillable potion on the other side. Instead, it's going to be the boots and Dark Seal, right? Lots of tools, more mobility, more ability to take down Messages in these plays. And as this wave comes through, it also puts Messages at a potentially dangerous spot because they haven't seen parry in a long time.
We see the Dark Seal plus boots from Young, so he's going to be able to keep pushing that lead in the mid lane. Meanwhile, topside, Tenacity, it looks like went for some kind of cheater recall. I didn't notice it live, but he does have the tier completed with only 1 stack on it so far, and didn't use the teleport to get back into lane. So he's going to catch this wave under turret in a really good spot against Dragoon, who just had to TP back in. Dragoon actually looks like he's going to go for another reset himself. So just use the TP to make sure that there was no freeze happening.
Yeah. Ooh, but Dragoon coming right on back, going to be moving down, see if he can spot out where Perry is. He definitely didn't have gold to get anything important, so he will spot out the jungler and create a lot of safety for himself, which will be nice. Now, it's time for Poom to get out of the bottom lane. It has been almost 5 minutes, and he has been seeing Manui for way too much of it. It's time for him to leave, but he does get spotted going into the mid lane here, and so Messages should not go down to any play.
Poom's got to have like the highest map percentage of supports in the league so far. This guy is just allergic to his AD carry. So have fun down there, buddy. I'm going to go on an adventure.
I don't want you here, and I don't want you here. I'm stuck with you.
Perry walking in here. Flash forward from Plugs. Does flash away from the crash down, but that's that Sejuani passive you were talking about, and that is first blood to Rockboom.
Great play coming through from LiT. Really preying on the fact that Skies are playing without vision as they move into the enemy side of the jungle, but look at the same time, this bottom lane, Rockboom, as he comes down, he's missing out on a fair amount of CS already, about a wave behind his opponent. And getting this kill really only solves some of the issues that they were having originally, because with both of these lanes a bit behind, it does mean that they can't find a whole lot more.
Let's go for a cute little Hex Flash play there, but there's a big wave, so they don't actually want to take that fight into it. Despite Perry going down, I will say Teleport from Tenacity helps catch the prio topside, and he goes onto the Grubs. Dragoon actually went for a back, so there's no contest here on the Grubs. I don't know if it's that much in favor of LiT after the fact, just because Perry's at least keeping some momentum on the map here, can then look at that Dragon in case LiT start that one up for themselves, but it still feels good to get that first blood on the Jhin. You're falling behind a lot of CS, but the gold will help you equalize that.
Yeah. It's also worth noting that this is the first game this series where the Grubs aren't almost immediately traded for the Dragon. Kisno on the wrong side of the map to make that play happen. And part of it has been because his bottom lane has been consistently down in priority, and this is once again happening where his bottom lane could not necessarily move if Perry was not doing the Grubs and instead going for the Dragon. The stun comes through, doesn't do a whole lot more than that, and instead it is just going to be this guy is continuing to hold priority here so that Perry, now that the Dragon hasn't been taken, can try and make something happen with an invade or pick it up for themselves.
Starting it up, Boom and Manui just keep crashing those waves down there, and Perry's going to utilize that for the continued neutral objective stacking. 3 Grubs for the team, now the Dragon for the team. Kisno does not have an answer, so despite that first blood, it still feels like DSG are having a fine early game. Priority that their laners are able to provide for Perry is definitely helping him out. He was the one that gave the oopsie, giving that first blood over to the side of LiT. But now he might look mid lane here. Messages does have flash, does have ultimate. So the best we could get is most likely just a cooldown. Young lands the chains. That's starting things off here. Oh. And now Measures will shuffle Perry underneath the turret. Doesn't have flash, doesn't have ult, and he will go down. Well played by Messages and a good roam timer from Plugs.
Feels almost too obvious, especially once Perry hits the stun on the minion. It's pretty much doomed, right? If he gets the stun onto Messages, sometimes he's okay. Maybe they get the kill there, but this time around, not going to be finding anything at all. It's also worth noting that Messages is not going for the high DPS style of build. He says that we have enough damage between the Jhin and me already that I can afford to go with this Grasp of the Undying.
Now another play here as Boom was hoping to make the same thing happen that Plugs just happened, but he gets punished. LiT are finding back-to-back kills in the mid lane here, just outperforming their opponents with the roams, with the timers. Dragoon in trouble though in the 1v1, pops the Dominus. Tenacity gonna jump on top of him, shuts down the turret, stunned under the turret though. He will take one shot. This guy's splitter will keep him safe. Dragoon does not want to look for more, though. Very close fight in the top side.
I'll be honest, that was absolutely one of those spots as a top laner, I know it well, where my opponent makes a mistake, but I didn't expect them to make the mistake, and I couldn't punish it because of it. Dragoon dashing forward, but still taking the damage from the E, means that Tenacity absolutely could have killed him, but was not ready to do so. Now Kisno comes forward to make sure Dragoon can at least get this wave. So, ultimately, our gold across the map remains staying on even, but here's the dive.
Oh! Boom flashes, autos the turret. That's the time that Rock Boom needed. He flashes away. Manui very low. Boom's got to walk away because of the curtain call. That buys time for Plugs to roam and dredge line forward. Flash from Manui. Doesn't get it. Final auto attack will. Now does Flux have the damage with the rel autos? Manui's going to go for the wave. I think he sacrificed himself. Says, yeah, I'm going to go down here every time. I'll at least get some more gold. Aggressive play from Manui and Boom, and I think a slight misexecution means that Rock Boom can at least trade up.
The fact that Manui gets at least one kill there, it saves the play a little bit, and so it's only a 300 gold deficit, but you're already looking at a position where it feels as though DSG are falling behind. Any further deficit is a problem. Instead, I really want to see them start playing around Young a bit more effectively, because we saw Perry goes down multiple times coming in mid lane. Poom came up, was not able to find anything because of how well LiT have been warding him out, knowing where they are, and finding all these fights. And it means that even though Messages still has 2 kills, he's down a little bit of gold, but could you imagine how big of a difference this game could have been if either of those ganks had worked? We need to start looking for more inventive plays, like things that Chime was doing earlier in the split.
Boom has been taken to the map more often than not. In the lane, the plays have looked a little rough. But also, I mean, even in the mid lane is when they went down for another kill that LiT got. The gold is still relatively even as the grubs are started up yet again. This is Kisno's first one. If Perry can get 2 of these, that will mean that they get the grubs spawning on the hit on the turret, but it's a turn from LiT. They want to take the fight instead. Young's in a really good spot there. Gets a good burst to start things off. Now Tenacity over the top. Dragoon gets 1. Dragoon gets 2. Dragoon might be the difference maker in this fight. Messages shuffles everybody back in. Says you're not getting away from the Croc, but the Croc goes down. DSG finally kill the raid boss. Flux flashes to safety. Message is trying to DPS, but you said it. He's the tankier Azir. He's not actually doing that much damage, all things considered. So he will fall to Young. Flux will fall as well. A delayed ace as DSG will win the fight.
Wow. But I don't know who got all the grubs. That's huge in that last play. But we gotta see it. Minui missed out on so many spells. He didn't need to die during that last engagement. But DSG, there's still the grubs alive. It was just the one going over to LiT. That means that Perry can clean this up and get to that 5th promised land. But I wanna pay attention to this one because Boom, only level 5, leaves him in a really tough spot. But both Minui and Messages will get here at about the same time. And even though this crazy melee is just going back and forth, as we start looking at this next part of the play, watch Minui's spells come through. In just a moment, as he goes onto Messages and trying to kill off Flux, he's not able to get the Q onto Plus. And then the E doesn't land onto Messages either. Either one of those resets his cooldowns. He finds multiple kills there, and Flux does not live. We do not see Minui die if either of those spells land. And so we gotta give good credit to both Messages and Flux for dodging out of those really tough to dodge spells.
Yeah, putting their dancing shoes on, getting away from Varus's skill shots. That's one of the things about that champion. You gotta hit your abilities to do a lot of your damage. That's how you proc the passive. And LiT, things could have gone much worse than it did. Things still look rough, though. I believe that 2 of those grubs went over to DSG. By my calculations, that should be 5 that they have. LiT will get onto the dragon and take this one out, so at least they stop the dragon stacking of DSG.
Oh.
Crash on Gravity Storm does not land on a parry. The curtain call, Rock Boom trusted Plux, but just out of range.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, it is still a good position for DSG. We were saying it was very determined by the lanes, and technically, the laning phase is still going. It's not 14 minutes yet. Tenacity. Okay.
Yeah, he takes 1 turret shot, then another with the shield up. But Dominus is still available for Dragoon, so...
Yeah, both ults are available.
Yeah.
So either way, it is still a very even game going through this one, so we have to look at who has the gold as the ults come out.
Dominus used. Dragoon with the full combo actually dodges out on Tenacity's ultimate. Well done.
Yeah. I feel as though Dragoon is playing a very, very dangerous game with Tenacity over and over, using those dashes to try and dodge things. Sometimes he goes directly into them, but I like the fact that he's always trying. He's looking for these moments to outplay. At the same time, we got to look at the players with gold. Both 80 carries, a little bit accelerated with the fact that they both picked up 2 kills. Both mid laners have also picked up 3 kills in this one, and crucially, Perry's a little bit behind where he wants to be because he has only got an assist and has died 3 times. A very tough position to try and play Viego when you are relying on other people to get your resets for you.
But it doesn't feel that bad when you look at who's setting it up, in my opinion. LeBlanc and Varus are actually really solid champs to enable Viego. They can do that upfront damage with the poke of a Varus or the burst of a LeBlanc. So I don't think Perry's completely out of the game, but you're right, he's behind. It would feel better if he had more resources, as I'm sure most League of Legends players would sympathize with.
Weird. If I just had like 4,000 more gold, I feel like I would always be a better League of Legends player. I'd win more of my games as messages. Dodges out on a couple of those chains and does live, but yeah. I don't understand why. I feel like, because I have hit Diamond unlike some of our casters, it means that I should start the game with extra gold.
You just gotta flex on me like that. Oh, boom! Going for the engage. Minui does have Chain of Corruption. Does he throw it out? There it is. Buffered by Plux, who goes in for the engage, but the Rel not tanky enough, does fall. Depth charge used, Dredgeline misses onto Rock Boom. It's all tank from Kisno, but not enough. Perry gets the resets. Rock Boom's trying to run away, has the flash available, should be fine, but LiT opted for that fight, and they were not able to end it.
Not at all, and now Minui going for the 1v1.
Okay, hit that. Q flashes over! The Emperor's Divide from Messages! No way! He's not going to make it happen that time around. Messages will have the damage with the Leandries, but what a play from Minui!
And honestly, the fact that he flashes over the ultimate and then recognizes I'm dead, I'm going to last hit this cannon minion, that's the kind of thing that I love seeing from Manui and love seeing from players that they're constantly still thinking about what to do next. Disguise also picking up the Rip Herald, and they have ballooned to a 3,000 gold lead so much off of the fact that now Manui and Young are getting to free fire. The bottom lane turret goes down during all that as well. I believe Young was the one to pick that up, and that means that Disguise, with so much extra money, are now perfectly poised to try and play for the upcoming Ocean Soul. And Ocean Soul is okay, but it's really good into Jhin because he's going to take a long time to punch his way through Tenacity and Poom.
Yeah, he's not this like crazy high auto attack speed DPS carry. He is more, situational. He's got some CC in the kit. He's got a lot of burst once he gets that 4th shot, but you will have time to kite. You will have time to reposition, especially things like the LeBlanc who can kind of dance in and out of those fights. So keep our eyes on who can stack the dragons better. It's still a minute 20 for that, and Kisno's on the top half of the map. Nasty's not walking up, though. I think that DSG's top lane should be just fine.
Yeah, and we also see Manui going for a Terminus, an interesting item coming through where you get the bonus armor and magic penetration on alternating auto attacks. So they does recognize that they want a little bit more magic damage in their composition because Young is going to be doing a lot of it, but he's a very bursty champion, so you need to have that mix of damage to go through all these players.
Ooh.
I'm shocked that Rockman was able to dodge that, but hey, we take it.
We've seen some fair and balanced Nautilus queues today, and I should be happy for it, but I'm surprised by it for sure. But yeah, good job there, Rockboom.
Yeah.
Just nerves of steel, sidestepping that one. As the priority around the Dragon currently it belongs to DSG. They get the scuttle. They have a couple of wards down. LiT do not have them answered. Young jumps over the wall, stunned up by Flux, but gets away just fine. Just a little burst onto that rel support.
Here we go. Gonna be crashing the Rift Herald in the mid lane at the same time. Going for damage onto Rockboom.
Depth charge goes out. It hits the back line, but it's only messages. Tanky Azir. Turret's the focus. One more auto should have it, but Curtain's been called. They can't kill the turret yet. Slows come in from the Jhin ultimate. Now Poom dredge lines to safety. LiT for a short period here will have priority over the mid-wave push. Does that mean that they can actually get in here? Flux walks all on his own into Fog of War and will get punished for it. Flashes to safety. He's still alive, but that should give Dragon priority back to DSG.
Oh, no. Best case scenario, that ultimate hits for messages, and Young still just teleports out anyway.
Yeah, you get maybe 200 damage on him.
Yeah.
That's not a big difference maker.
But that was an odd fight coming through from both sides. Everybody just all inning on this Rift Herald fight and nobody able to actually take the whole thing down. It does mean that another Dragon's going to be going over towards Disguise. They will get some push. And meanwhile, the top lane island is continuing to be a vacation resort for both sides over there. But the mid lane turret does end up falling down. Disguise open up the map a little bit more, and it just allows Young on one of his best champions to just look for all of these different angles as long as Tenacity doesn't die here.
Man, I really was setting up the top lane to be a little more exciting than it's turned out to be, but you called it the vacation. Well, looks like the storm's coming. Kisno, Flux are here. Buffer ultimate from Tenacity. He uses Ghost as well. He's rooted, but he is tanky. That's a pretty big health bar to get through, and LiT cannot. Tenacity turns it right back around, and DSG reinforcements have arrived. Flux in trouble. Bursted down, teleport for messages might just be enough to turn the play back in favor of LiT, though. Back and forth, the pendulum swings. LiT,
mid lane.
They don't find the champ they're looking for, but they do get a kill.
And meanwhile, mid lane, Manui, who is not part of that fight, is just wailing away on another structure. He's got the little Void Mines Twitch chat helping him out to take down this structure. They're going to be getting even more of the map open, and that's worth Poom's life every time.
Yeah, that's not too bad for DSG. Manui objective focus here. They just were trying to stall out the play top side. Messages doesn't have the teleport anymore, so can no longer play on the map quite as well. And overall, Gold Swing still belongs to DSG. LiT only killed Poom, who's not worth a lot. That's not like a shutdown. If you get Young there, that's going to be worth more. That's 450 gold on top of his usual kill. But Poom, not so much. So maybe they can get Young here. We'll see. It's just messages all alone, and actually Perry hanging out nearby as Flux will roam up. Has flash, but isn't going to look over the wall for Flux.
We're also starting to see how difficult it is to actually do damage to messages now that they have the Abyssal Mask completed on top of the Leandries. It's just a lot of HP.
No, don't do it, Kai. No!
Not the hands!
The hands! Every time!
They're just so bony and, grabby, you know? Anyway.
There's just so many of them. That's what gets me.
Yeah. Feels like I definitely
unnatural amount of hands. Oh, of course.
It's like a little crick in the fingers too. It's just
Somebody
not
call Cubby.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Either way,
we're not letting him live that one down for a while.
No. What did he say?
He said he would rather them be feet. So yeah. We're not going to let that one go. Young will teleport to the top lane and can at least get priority up here for the team, as Baron is now a potential objective on the Rift. I don't think we're going to go for it, though. Instead, it's a focus on the dive. They landed the stun messages. I don't know if they realized it.
Yeah. Either way, Disguise has a lot of members here, and it's fascinating to me that Manui is the one holding the flank instead of hitting the structure, but they do have a lot of members here in order to help take down this structure, and it should go down momentarily. Oh, not going to have enough of a burn just quite yet, but they are so close to taking down this structure. That'll open up the map even further for Disguise. They want to go. They are currently grouping up for this fight, and the next wave will allow them to take it down.
Yeah, messages, despite the build you were talking about, having pretty tanky stats, he's not going to be confident enough to stand under that turret for another wave. DSG will finally crack the final outer turret. They had the tier 2 in the mid lane because of Manui's focus there, and now top and bot are both exposing the tier 2s. So much more lane prio, lane control available for DSG, because LiT haven't even taken one turret.
Now, we will get to see how they will play around this, because LiT do really need somebody to actually punch through some of these frontline members, but they haven't really been given an opportunity to. Like we said before, Disguise have a lot better tools in order to dictate when engagements happen, who is going to be starting them off. And we haven't necessarily seen Kizno go for the same kind of plays like we were seeing from Perry last game. And now, I mean, Young can do a decent amount of damage to him if he's able to land his spells. Yeah,
it doesn't hit the chain. That would have been nice, but you're right. Kizno, pretty much all armor right now. Not even a lot of health, so a flash from Boom. We are just full committing onto the Sejuani. Dredgeline lands, but messages has the Emperor's Divide. Perry goes forward, flashes over, gets Kizno. Young on a rampage. Dragoon is joined in. Everybody from DSG are very split, though. We dove so far there to get the kill onto Sejuani, so Perry will give up his life in the effort. They still have a wave top. It's only a Zir turret if they can wait it out. Tenacity's going to have to tank it up here so that Boom can try and survive. Flux goes down. Young and Manui are free firing because LiT are focusing on Tenacity and Boom, the tankiest members. The damage dealers are unthreatened and they will shred through LiT. DSG take a clean team fight.
You called it out. Manui and Young able to free fire through all this. Young on his signature champion, Manui, with his game 3 bars finally coming through, doing so much damage, and they're even confident enough to start hitting this Baron. Kizno is alive. He is far away, will not be able to get there in time. But they're going to look at this one. The fact that Kizno is running away from this engagement is just a bit of an issue from LiT. They are playing so defensively, and messages doesn't do damage with his build. He really relies on being the one starting a lot of these fights. While yes, Rockboom will be able to auto attack for free for most of this engagement, he doesn't do damage. He's not going to be able to take down a lot of these members relatively quickly, and then the call becomes so split here. You see Pluck on one side trying to make sure these guys can't hit, but you're trying to take down Poom while he's underneath the turret. You don't have the damage to do that. It takes you way too long, and you're going to be allowing Manui to free fire the entire time.
Manui hit a clutch Chain of Corruption there too. Just sniped out Dragoon as he was dashing forward, completely stopped the engage onto Poom underneath the turret. So I think that props to Manui here, stepping up in the mid to late game with this composition. As we go back to live, it's kind of crazy to see that LiT were actually able to get that dragon. It is Baron for DSG, so LiT will deny another dragon stack for the side of DSG, who had so far seemed like they should have been in control from this position. But with the 7,500 gold lead, I think they're still in a decent amount of control. It's just going to come down to how much more gold can they get, how many turrets can they crack.
Yeah, and I think part of it is they were waiting for people to respawn. You're seeing that the Baron buff is actually on a lot more members than you might have expected, which would have ruined Disguise's tempo in order to actually try and go for the dragons. That's part of why we saw that come through, but Disguise, now playing in 2 lanes, have a lot of tools to, you know, the big chicken Alfredo meatball standing in front, making sure that nobody can ever get to Manu, and Young is already knocking on the doors of the inhibitors.
There's chicken meatballs. We can just call it a chicken meatball.
Chicken meatball?
I don't think we need to bring Alfredo into this one.
I mean,
he's earned it.
He's earned it, all right. Okay, Young just going right around the side and going to be taking it down in the face of Rockboom.
Oh, engage from Poom. Yeah, they got Dragoon. He's all alone. Everybody else got out but the Crocodile, so LiT are going to have to defend now 4v5 against the Baron onslaught. Okay.
All right.
Initial prison lands onto only one member and no follow-up, so it's going to come down to messages, I suppose, for the engage. Maybe Flux on top as well if the Rel can set it up and then Azir knock it down. But that's 2 inhibitors taken. DSG can also just walk away and not even give them the fight.
For sure, and with this win, if Disguise is able to close it from this position, let's be real, they should be able to. Disguise keeps their fate in their own hands. They would only need to win one further game beyond today. If they find one game next week and the win today, it means that they are going to go to playoffs. As long as they don't go 0-2 next week, it means we will be seeing them in the postseason, and they are so close to ending this one. The Rally Cry Baron buff opening up 2 inhibitors for them. They have 3 minutes until the Dragon, but that just means they have 3 minutes to hang out on the top side of LiT's map, make sure Kizno can't farm, make sure that they get more money onto Manui, and completely lock LiT into their own side of the map.
And for anybody wondering exactly how we come to that conclusion, a reminder, it is series win percentage, then game win percentage, then head-to-head. If they win this game, the worst they could do then is 0-2 next week. If LiT 2-0 next week, then LiT could actually still have that opportunity to make it in time the series score, having better game percentage though. But as the engage from LiT, they don't want to end it. They don't want this to be done right now. They want to keep fighting. They are not giving up in this game. Huge pick on the parry.
That really ruins a lot of what Disguise are going for, but to finish your point there, King, is it is, like we said, because it is series score, they would be tied if LiT wins next week and Disguise lose next week. If Disguise gets a win next week, they will have the same game score as if LiT goes 2-0, but crucially, that means we go to tiebreaker number 3, where Disguise would win the head-to-head. It is so important for Disguise to find a win on top of what they do after this. And so, with that pick onto parry, like we said, Disguise is currently in a bad spot. But Young, hanging outside the deployment zone. God damn it.
Yeah, the Warhammer references, they just keep coming in. I liked that one.
I liked it. It was not intentional, but it's just, you can tell the different games.
It's just part of your vernacular now. You know,
it is.
You got to embrace it, Josh.
You know, I already talked about blundering queens earlier. It's just like every single game continues to come in at different points. But now we got a minute left until Disguise can play for the next Ocean Dragon. Let's be honest, it does not matter. Nobody cares about this next Ocean Dragon because you are 2-2, 28 minutes into the game. It will mean that Disguise can continue pushing up. They just need to control space to make sure that LiT cannot actually go for this upcoming Baron, the one with hands, not feet.
Happy that you added the distinction.
It's important.
Some people might be upset by that.
Yeah.
But you know, it's important to be honest. This is the Baron that we find ourselves with. Now, DSG with the 10,000 gold lead, they have every right to control this top half of the jungle. There should be no approach for LiT to go towards that Baron buff, but it's still a ways away. So DSG, honestly, they can still keep control with a lot of visions, take the dragon, and then head back up there.
Yeah.
But if they do that, you're right that LiT have a small window to actually walk in and then clear some of the wards away. Because right now, every single brush is warded up, save the one around the red buff.
Yeah. One of the things I love to see from our more veteran teams in this, and I would like to include Disguised in that conversation, is you push with 4 people up in the top lane, and then you have somebody who has some engage tools. Usually a top laner or a mid laner, so in this case Tenacity, would push in the mid lane and threaten the dive onto the top lane turret. That is usually the way that you cut your opponents away from that inhibitor structure, but Disguised haven't really been going for that. Instead, they're just sending Manui to go pick up the Ocean Dragon 30 seconds before the Baron, and so instead they're going to be trying to close things out a bit more cautiously, again, than they potentially need to.
Manui will guarantee the neutral objective as LiT cautiously walk forward to get wards down. That was a bold move from Plux to get another ward over the pit. I mean, there's 2 wards there, but I think they're both still hit by the control ward. The first one was spotted. He thought maybe the second one would be out of range, but there is no vision in the pit. We see the indicator. Yeah, that is a blind Baron from the side of LiT. They cannot spot when it is started, and that's going to make things so tough for them. Kizno's committing onto Young. Change the CC with the ultimate. That's flash out of the LeBlanc and half health. So Young might need to look for a reset and then teleport in, but won't have flash for the next play.
And importantly, Manui's had time to buy things. This is really close.
Rock boom throughout the curtain call. They thought that the Baron must have been started. Flashes the wall. Kizno focused down. DSG don't quite have the damage, but they are committing to the play. Teleport in from Young, and he's got it. Goes dominating. Gizno's out of there.
Okay.
Now a big shuffle from Messages might be enough to turn the play back for LiT. They got one.
Manui.
Flash, Chain of Corruption onto Messages, but he's too tanky. They can't kill him. Dragoon's there, but Rockboom doesn't have the DPS. Shut down onto Manui finally, but will fall in the effort. Now under turret, Young can still look for Messages, who just
so
won't
tanky.
die. This tank is here is too much, but Tenacity with one final Goblin will pick up the kill. The minions are here. It's only Dragoon left to defend the base.
He's got so many minions to have to deal with at the same time. The Void Mites are here. The Skies are pushing. They have these inhibitors to pick up more minions at the same time, but oh, these guys, they take structures so slowly, even with the Void Mites coming through. TwitchJet, you need to help them more than this. It's all 3 inhibitors going down for Disguise. Now they can back away, and surely this time they will be able to go pick up the Baron buff and close the game for this position. They are still 10,000 gold in the lead.
Dragoon tried so hard to save that bottom inhibitor, but it was just not meant to be. But we are right back to the same position for DSG. The fight was a little sloppy. Props to LiT for staying alive for that long. But it's not going to get easier. In fact, it's going to be much harder now. Double super minions in all 3 lanes means that approaching this Baron is going to be nigh impossible.
And now, as they start moving, everybody on the side of LiT is on the opposite side of the map. Yes, they'll give their entire team blue buff, which is, like, nice. You know, you always like to have that. But where do you go from there? You can't even approach this Baron. They're 10,000 gold in the hole. And this is my favorite part of a game of League of Legends. When you have the Baron and your opponent has no inhibitors, you don't fight them. You don't give them an opportunity to win. You just sit there and let your minions do the rest of the work. You do not have enough wave clear because Messages has a low damage build. Jhin, so bad at taking down super minions, and so as they set things up, they do not need to do anything, but they could, because Nasty can disable both turrets.
Curtain call pulled by Rockboom to try and keep everybody away, but I like this from Young. Just standing in range of the minions to keep that Baron buff on. The one thing going for LiT is that they corrected the bot wave. That's shoving out. So these waves are not going to crash at the same time. They're actually all 3 dis-timed together, disjointed, so LiT can just focus on one wave of super minions at a time here. DSG might actually have to take the fight then. They have the Volibear ultimate. Chain of Corruption goes out. It hits Messages. Big damage comes through. Now Tenacity with the engage. They turn their attention on to Dragoon instead. They got a Messages free fire, and Rockboom free fire, and is it enough? 1 for 2 trade. Perry jumps in. Boom in trouble though, very low, as Messages got a big shutdown there onto Tenacity, and they still have the turrets up. DSG now with the supers though. They have the 2 waves crash at the same time. Messages goes for the scoop, does not get onto Young, only gets Manui, and Manui walks away. Young is still alive as well. DSG are doing it. DSG are making it happen. The late season surge from the team. Can they close out the game right here, right now? Double kill for Manui, triple kill for Manui. That's the series. DSG take it.
Oh my gosh, the supers, the Baron minions taking down Rockboom for Manui at the very end there. That was so close to LiT holding. It was so close, and the game continued to go on, but that means the Skies, they have their fate in their own hands. They just need to find one more game to lock their spot in playoffs. But what a crazy back and forth this series has been. We'll get another look at this last fight, and it really comes down to the fact Messages and Rockboom just get to free hit this entire time, and it's not the highest damage. If this was a more traditional Azir build, absolutely, this is LiT holding on their Nexus turret because of how many times he gets to free auto attack. But as it is, it takes so long for them to get through every single one of these members. And Rockboom, I mean, he can actually hit a lot of the squishy members, but the fact he has to hit the Volibear first means it takes him so long to get through. And at the end of this, I want you to see how much damage the minions will actually do to Rockboom. Because Manui, yes, he gets a couple of auto attacks down. Yes, he gets some damage through. But with the amount of pressure that just comes through, look, he's just getting beaten to death by these minions.
Oh, that's so sad. I don't even think it was Manui's auto that got him. I don't know if there was one in the air there at the end.
Oh, it's tough.
Wow. What a close series. What a close game. Close ending. DSG take it, but LiT were right there, and it is still not guaranteed. We laid the pathway for LiT to still make playoffs and deny it from the defending champs in DSG, but you said it as well. Disguised hold their fortune in their own hands. They just need one game win. A series win guarantees it as well. That would feel great for momentum purposes, but at least a game win. and they're going to sneak into playoffs despite a very rough start to their season. But we'll get to hear from one of the members from Disguise as we're going to send it to a short break and be back with an interview for one of the players. So we'll see you there.
Introducing the new Footlong Sidekicks at Subway. Try the warm and delicious Footlong Cookie, Footlong Pretzel, or Footlong Churro.
Hello and welcome back, everybody, as we have the victorious bot laner for DSG, Manui, joining us for an interview after an incredible Game 3 carry on the Bears. Congratulations, Manui. The job's not done. You haven't fully locked playoffs yet, but a good start and good end, rather, to Week 7 of the split. But I want to put you on that spot to say, how confident are you after 2 back-to-back series wins this weekend that you can secure that playoff spot? How's the vibes feeling?
I think we're all pretty confident that we're going to make playoffs and be able to make a deep run because we were able to flush out a lot of our big mistakes and our big problems that we had throughout the split this week. And I think not in every game that we played this week it showed, but definitely in some of the games it showed that we were able to improve. So I'm pretty confident going into next week.
Nice. Now, one of the things we got to address is that the expectations for this roster were a little bit higher than where you guys are currently finding yourself. How has that affected team morale and the ability to continue improving when you did not come out the gate where you expected to be?
I think it's been very good overall because honestly, maybe my team was gonna hate me for saying this, but me as a person, I've always but I always put a lot of the responsibility on myself, and I think that I had a very slow start, similar to last spring or last summer, and then my personal performance wasn't too good. But in my head, I feel like I'm playing AD carry, which is honestly the best role in competitive. So in my head, I was like, I'm pretty confident that we would be able to win games if I were to step up my game. So instead of focusing on what we can do as a team, I think I focused a lot on what I was gonna do myself, and so it showed up some games. So yeah.
Sure. Well, I want to dig into that a little bit more. How do you, as a player, how do you as a person kind of step up when you're putting that kind of pressure on yourself? Because it sounds like a lot of that is, self-inflicted there. So what's the strategy then? What's that mindset that you have going into these series when you're like, okay, now we got to correct course?
Well, at the start, honestly, I was kind of lost with what I should do. But then recently, I just told myself, shout out to JJ. He's always told me this last split too. You have to be a bit delusional to be good. So I'm just telling myself, ideally, if I want to win, at all, like the players that I'm going up against in this league are nothing. Like I have to beat everyone, right? So I'm gonna go into every match with full confidence that we will win, and that if I want to make to LCS and make it to a higher level, that these are the games I have to win. Like there's no choice. Like if I cannot win these games, I don't deserve to go higher.
I mean, that makes a lot of sense. I love that quote. You got to be a little bit delusional in order to be good. But the last thing I kind of want to talk about, we're getting to the end of the regular split, and that means that we have to start talking about the most valuable prospect award, which you already give out. Now, I want to get 2 answers from you real quick. Firstly, if you had to give it to someone on your team, who would you give the most valuable prospect award to? And secondly, if you could not give it to someone on your team, who would that award go to instead?
Honestly, going into this split, I wanted to like be good enough to give it to myself, but obviously I'm not performing too well. And I think that Tenacity has been like doing really well on our team, and honestly carrying a lot of the games, and a lot of like he's been playing matchups well, and he's been doing a lot of some of the leading. So I think for our team, I think Tenacity definitely gets it. And for most valuable prospects for other people, I think that Lens is having a very strong split personally. So I think that he can be good, and he will like if he continues to improve and get better and they do well, I think he will be good in LCS.
Okay, happy to hear your thoughts on that. We got to let you get going here, Manui, so we continue on with our show, but I'll do it for you. Plug to the Patreon for Disguise. Go support the team, everybody. And thanks so much, Manui, for coming on and chatting with us. We're going to let you get going, and we'll be back with the second series and last series of Week 7 right after this.
They said it couldn't be done. They said the world would never accept a cookie this long. Or a churro, and probably not a pretzel either. They also said, under no circumstances should those really long and delicious treats be wildly affordable. To which we said, but we already made them. And they are. Introducing the incredible new foot-long sidekicks. Get one at Subway today.
We're the LCS Challengers League. We're the future of the LCS.
We're Challengers League. We change our name and format every 2 years. I wonder what the next one's gonna be.
We're Challengers League. Of course we play Best of 3s and Fearless Draft.
We're Challengers League. Of course we have pauses too, but ours are fire ones.
We're Challengers League. Who actually wins here?
We're Challengers League. We play every single weekend, even if LCS takes it off.
We're Challengers League. Our Twitch stream has a sub button.
We're Challengers League. FlyQuest, also #1 right now.
We're Challengers League, and we're taking over the Riot Games Arena.